Feuds, squabbles, rivalries and grief. Par for the course for most families, and definitely for soap ones. And Emmerdale's families, well, they're not exactly the Waltons, are they?
I'm going to make you pay for everything that you've done.
From the Sugdens in the beginning...
Jack's my son. I can handle him.
New beginnings.
To the latest arrivals, the Kings.
There's an awful lot of them, and they're very big. They're very tall.
Their twists and turns have kept soap fans glued to their screens.
Hello, Diane. Long time no see.
Join us as we look at the families of Emmerdale.
If you're banished by the Dingles, that's a much bigger deal for them. It's like being excommunicated by the church.
It's in-laws...
You have been found not guilty on all charges.
...and outlaws.
Do you mind?
Take it slow. I don't want Jacob bumped about on his last ride.
Emmerdale's feuding families first hit the screen with the funeral of Jacob Sugden. The reading of Jacob's will was the catalyst that ignited passions that had consumed the tiny village for more than 30 years.
Well, the Sugdens always used to be the cornerstone of Emmerdale. They've been there from the start, you know, from when it was called Emmerdale Farm. So when I think of them, I just think of Annie in the kitchen cooking the meal and holding a tribal council almost to sort the whole village out.
Annie Sugden was your archetypal matriarch. She made 18 million cups of tea because everything happened around that kitchen table. You know, it wasn't kitchen sink drama as a soap, it was her kitchen table.
You don't feel like selling the lease of this, do you? I'll keep you on as cook.
It's our home. We stay here.
Solid Yorkshire kind of farmers, people of the land, really, which although the show has moved beyond that and encompasses so many different types of characters, at the heart of it, in a way, is still Jack Sugden, who's a kind of rather rough-hewn, gritty Yorkshire farmer.
So you've come home?
Hi, Ma. That's it?
I didn't like him when he came in because he had a more likeable brother, and suddenly he swans back and he was a bit arty and, you know, I'm a writer and all that kind of thing, and I thought, oh, you can buzz off.
But Jack was here to stay.
It's in a chair. Tea's on table.
For over 3,500 episodes.
Jack is the only character, although the actor's changed, he's the only character who goes back to the very beginning of the programme in 1972. And it's the idea that you've got a family living and working on a farm that's kind of, if you like, central to the origins of the programme. And yet through this family, you can tell the most modern stories.
Including the story of the rivalry between Jack's two sons, Andy and Robert.
I'm going to make you pay for everything that you've done. And that's a promise.
I see you boys didn't take my words to heart this morning.
Sorry, Dad.
It was a rivalry that started when Andy caused the death of their mother, Sarah.
Oh, no.
His intentions were good. Bless him. He had intentions of setting the barn alight, getting insurance money, and everything would be fine. And he saved the day, and we'd all live as happy families.
Someone's in there.
What? Robert! 999!
Look!
What he didn't know, obviously, his adopted mum was having an affair with a lodger. And there was also up to no good in the barn.
What have you done? What have you done? What? She's in there. Sarah's in there. No, Sarah. No. Okay, no. 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 Get off. No.
He was so insecure anyway, and he was so troubled that suddenly he's faced another hurdle like this, which is a massive one, and it just was all too much, I think. And Jack was there to stand by him, which just showed what a great character he is.
Why do we have to burn them?
They checked all my clothes. They might want to check yours.
Who?
The police.
What for?
Petrol. Traces of petrol.
Will it still be on them there?
I don't know. I'm not taking any chances. Jack thought he'd lose him, and he so didn't want to lose him. At all costs, he wanted to keep Andy and the family. And there's a lovely scene where he's scrubbing after the fire, and the police investigation is about to happen. Jack is outside with Andy, scrubbing him down in the yard, saying, you know, no one's going to get you, and there's tears in his eyes, no one's going to get him. It's a really difficult scene to do. I found it really difficult. We'll get every trace of it off. They'll never know. They'll never be able to prove a thing.
It was dead nice. It was outside. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, a little iron tin bath with soapy water, and Andy stood there, stark naked, and he's washing him down with tears streaming down his face. And I remember doing the scene. It was really touching scene. It was.
I'm not going to lose you too, Andy. I'm not going to lose you too.
I think Robert started to hate Andy after that. Definitely had some sort of grudge against him, as you could expect.
Robert was the one that brought him to the Sugdens and said, you know, this is my friend from school, and eventually that led to him being adopted into the family as a brother. And yeah, from starting as best friends, it's now gone rapidly downhill.
It was always like Andy was the son that Jack should have had, you know. They were so alike, and Andy liked farming and Robert didn't. Robert wanted to be a college lad or whatever, and Robert must have been thinking, you know, this kid has come in, he's ruined my life, he's killed my mum, and now he's getting on better with my dad than I am.
But Robert has some kind of revenge.
Just let it ring.
Look, it's Sandy. I was only meant to go to the shop.
Yeah, so tell him they had an offer on. Buy one, get one free.
No, all right. I can't keep doing this, Robert. We're getting married.
I like the way that Robert and Andy are almost like Jack and Joe were back in the early days. You know, the love triangle at the moment could have happened 20 years ago between Jack and Joe.
All I want to know is if you meant what you said last night. I mean, we can't just drop it like that.
People can see us, OK?
Like I'm bothered.
Recently, he started having an affair with my fiancée. Genuinely, at the beginning, I think it was just out of pure lust and more a dig at Andy. If he's getting off with my fiancée, then, you know, what better is that? It's like a bit of a revenge.
We're getting married, it's all arranged, and that's it.
So you'd rather have Andy than me?
Oh, Robert.
That's all I want to know.
Watching Robert and Andy, it's very, very interesting because in a sense they're Cain and Abel. Andy is everything that's good, everything that's honest and true. And, you know, I would be stretched to find a single good thing to say about Robert.
Well, the Sugdens have made a transition from being that old-fashioned matriarchal cornerstone of society to a real sort of mess.
When ITV decided to move Emmerdale to an early evening slot, the decision prompted a number of changes. To suit the new audience, in 1988, producers brought in a new family.
I always think it's quite fascinating how soaps bring in new families.
Have you had a look in here lately?
Well, what's up, Bob?
Hello.
Something wrong?
Yes, there is something wrong. The condition of these ewes in here. There's one dead and some of them are down.
You know, they usually have that bit right at the end of a scene, right at the end of a programme, you see them arriving and they sort of shot, and then it cuts.
But if I were you, I'd sack that cowboy of a manager. He's nothing but a hooligan.
Oh, I doubt it. You see, he's my son.
The Tates were very, very 80s. It was very sort of Dynasty Dallas sort of inspired. We'll have this big business family, except we'll put them in barber jackets and cardigans and they won't quite be as glamorous.
I thought you might like something before the rush starts.
I was so pleased when they arrived because we actually got some glamour.
Well, either his neck's too small or this tie's too big.
When the Tates arrived in Emmerdale, it's like, you know, someone from Mars had turned up or someone from Dallas had turned up. You know, they just reeked of sex and money and power.
And new technology.
The Tates are such a great family. I love the Tate family, all the kind of history of that family and all their villainy. You know, they are the old-fashioned lords of the manor.
Well, perhaps not that restrained.
I do hope this will be taken in the right spirit.
Why shouldn't they take it in the right spirit? We were brought in it simply, I think, to, you know, make it a much broader picture than what it was. You know, the soft sort of Yorkshire Dales scene needed to be balanced with some strong storylines.
With the Tates came Kim, Emmerdale's queen bitch.
She was very beautiful. She was blonde. She looked very good in jodhpurs.
I remember reading with Norman Bowler, who played Frank, and we just went through a couple of scenes once. And then they said, would you like to go and wait outside? And I saw this girl that was in a flat cap and had the plait and almost welly boots, you know, and she just looked like Emmerdale Farm. Well, not a farm, but you know what I mean. And I thought, oh, God, well, she's bound to get it then.
She was 20 years younger than her husband, and so she was going to have a lot of affairs, and so she did.
Well, the tapes had two main impacts. You know, Frank came in and took everyone's money, took over all the businesses, and then Kim was there just to sleep with everyone and ruin everyone's marriage.
Including her own.
The hotel, see how Dave was doing.
Where are you now, Frank?
Looking for his room. Any messages?
So, did everything go well at the accountant's?
She was quite smouldery, and you knew underneath there was going to be a lot of sexuality there. There was something, I mean, it was all bubbling under the surface, and she rose to the occasion.
Bye-bye, love.
I can't believe I knew it was going to happen. Kim, why did you have to come in?
But everyone loves a bitch. They all like the nasty characters. I mean, I loved JR and I loved Alexis Colby. I thought they were great. And when I beat them in a poll once, I was like, yes!
Look at me. Of course I lied. I had to. Everything I've ever done, I've done for us. What did you expect? A fairy tale ending? Walking into the sunset holding hands? Sorry, David. Time to grow up.
I think everybody warms to a bitch. I don't know why, men especially.
Never thought I'd agree with Frank, but he is right. You are a bitch.
I think there's got to be an element of you to base a character on. And then when you get the scripts, they obviously adapt it as to how the characters are going or what their storylines are. So, yeah, there was an element, a small element. I mean, obviously we looked like each other. But I think towards the end, she was getting more and more camp and over the top.
Suddenly, you wind on 2 or 3 years, and you know, Zoe was suddenly a lesbian. Chris was in a wheelchair, paralysed, and became really twisted and bitter. Frank had became this kind of quite tough businessman.
Trouble?
As if I didn't have enough. The one person I think who Frank really did trust and did love was Zoe, his daughter.
Zoe, there's no time!
Ah, yes, Zoe, Emmerdale's schizophrenic lesbian vet.
Zoe, come back!
Can you hear him?
And there was these scenes when she actually told Frank that she was gay.
I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't what I wanted. I knew she was gay. I liked her. I just got scared.
Now, Frank was a sort of person who, you know, couldn't accept that a Tate was gay. What are you telling me?
You know what I'm telling you.
You can't be one of those. You can't be. I don't believe you.
It's true.
I don't know what possessed them to kind of turn her into a lesbian, but they did.
No.
I laughed when they told me. I thought it was a joke, and then I saw they were deadly serious. I said, OK. And I thought they did it quite sensitively, really.
Every time Leah, who plays Zoe, every time she got a girlfriend and then that girlfriend might have been written out, like, we'd sit there over dinner in the green room going, oh, I hope it's not me, I hope it's not me.
I don't know, there's a lot of one-night stands. She went through a real phase of going out clubbing and picking up various women who I have no recollection of whatsoever. And then there's one that Emma, who Zoe married, and then there was the nanny, and then there was Frankie. That's the women.
What's wrong with a friendship? Maybe. For starters.
As much as Leah's beautiful, you know, it's not something that you really, really want to do. And that was always a good thing about being at Emmerdale at 7 o'clock. We couldn't do that much. Like later, the soaps later on, they can do a bit more. But no, we always used to really get scared in the green room when, you know, we knew that Zoe needed a new girlfriend.
I will do what it takes. And once I've started, you won't be able to shut me up.
Seem to be lost for words now, don't you?
How dare you?
Just proving that you shouldn't underestimate me either.
Get out of here.
I'd quite like Zoe to be happy and be a vet and a fulfilled mother and have a relationship.
But the Tates' live hard, live fast lifestyle took its toll. Exit Frank with a heart attack.
Sophie, call an ambulance.
Then Kim in a helicopter. And finally Chris, poisoning himself and framing his prostitute wife Charity for the murder.
Chris! Oh my God!
Leaving his little sister Zoe to fight off the competition.
Well, Charity's one of ours. I'll do what it takes.
So will I. Move out my way.
Or else, you're gonna have to come through me.
I mean, if ever there was a clash of two families or two societies, it was the Tate and the Dingles.
Zach's back!
Zach! Dad! Uncle Zach?
Well, I'll be beggared.
The Dingles must surely be the most unlikely family ever to have graced a soap opera.
Ooh!
I was responsible for bringing in the Dingles, I know that, because Yorkshire in Emmerdale was a lot of very, very nice people. I just thought we needed a bit more than that, and a bit more a kind of like, not urban hooligans, but some kind of, you know, sort of some, almost like Kentucky hillbillies who would give us a bit of fun and a bit of, you know, interest, and then bolt-on comedy, you know.
Dad, you're not dead, are you?
No, I only feel like I am.
They're an astonishing creation, which I just absolutely loved being able to work with.
The Dingles are very important to Emmerdale. Partly, they represent the polar opposite of the Tates. You know, the Tates are at the top of the pile, and the Dingles are very definitely at the bottom of the pile. They are the underclass, if you like, the lowest of the low.
I think being part of the Dingle family, you can't ask for to be part of a better family than them.
God, he's a slob, isn't he, Zach? I mean, he really is. I mean, cans of beer. You can imagine, you know, he doesn't use deodorant. You can imagine him burping. You just see beer cans everywhere. And they always have parties at the drop of a hat.
I'm proud to be a Dingle. You know, even now in the street, you know, I've been out of the show 2.5 years and people still say, all right, Dingle, all right, Monday.
Hot water, towels, blankets, and an ambulance. Now!
For the pig?
Yeah, for the pig. No, not for the pig, for Lisa. And hurry up.
Well, I think the reason why people love the Dingles is that they're kind of like, I don't know, a pikey family in a movie. You know, they're like tinkers. They travel around, they duck and dive, they argue all the time. But at the base of it, they actually love each other.
I think in that way, they're almost the closest, strangely, in soap to me, to a real family, because they just keep on going on. They do have their disasters, yet they pull together, they fall out, they get over it, and they kind of carry on, really. There's a real family sense about them, which I think is their real strength, although it's sometimes easy to see them as comedy. I think they're just so much more than that. That's why we love them. I think they're the most complex characters in the show, really.
Do you mind?
When the Dingles appeared in Emmerdale, I resented them. Too loud, too loose, too everything. I love them now.
Kevin Lafan, who started the whole shebang off 31 years ago, he liked his sort of biblical names, and I think we just picked up, we started off with Zach, and it's become a sort of, you know, great joke to find the next biblical name. I think it works extraordinarily well.
There's two sides to Dingle's names. There's two sides of the family. There's the biblical family, which where you get your Zach and your Charity and your Chastity and all that. Then there's the Hollywood side of the Dingles, which is where you get your Marlon and your Elvis.
One keeps expecting to see Abel coming around the corner and having a fight with Cain. And actually, if our director of programmes had his way, that's exactly what would happen.
Everybody loves to write the Dingles because you can do things for the Dingles that nobody else would dream of doing.
Despite their lovable rogue image, the Dingles are not a family to be crossed, even by a fellow Dingle.
You didn't have to get dressed up, but I'm glad you did. It smells great.
To the uninitiated, a Dingle court, it's like a real court, but ruled by Dingle law, obviously. And as far as the Dingles are concerned, it carries much more weight than an actual court would. You could be sent down and put in prison. But if you're banished by the Dingles, that's a much bigger deal for them. It's like being excommunicated by the church, you know.
Sit.
It's all right. I'll serve and all. Part of the service.
You heard him. There. Sit there.
This a game? Charades or something?
My character has, on more than one occasion, disgraced himself and had to suffer the consequences of all hands on the Bible saying guilty and being pointed at. They had this lamp on him, and Marlon sort of, I think the line was something like, da, 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 da. My chosen specialised subject is quantum physics.
Funny. We thought it were hijacks.
I'd got a scam going. I'd have to get some, I think it was some booze or some cigarettes or something like that over the channel and sort of distribute. Anyway, I got Sam involved and got Sam against my better. Sam got beaten up.
Francis will prosecute. Samuel will be defence.
Defence? It can be de Gates for all that. Lisa, this is a joke, right?
You have been charged with setting up a member of the Dingle family, Samuel, for a severe pasting with a pickaxe handle or something.
Sam was my defence.
This is me, Marlon, the one who's tried to stop him.
Shut it! Sam's the one that does the defending. Now, the case is fairly clear-cut, Dad. Your Honour. He done a deal with that Sorag Billy to rip Pollard off.
Did you? Mr. Pollard? He gave you a job.
Hey, sorry, defend me?
Oh, he didn't do it?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, right.
And on top of that, he let you get beaten up for it and all.
What? I'm not defending him.
And, you know, he didn't defend me at all because he's Sam Dingle, and I was found guilty and prosecuted. And Marlon didn't believe that it was happening. He couldn't believe that he was going to be booted out.
Truth, right? Sam, didn't I try to get you to go to the bog?
I didn't want to.
You stopped and waited for Billy.
I had a deal. I couldn't back out.
For Marlon, it was just a massive thing at the time because, I mean, it's happened since, you know.
You could have driven on. Let Sam get home.
What is this? Nobody believes me.
You put a deal with an outsider before the well-being of a member of this family.
Hey, Dad, I mean, he did try and stop him.
Is there any doubt about the verdict?
If you're booted out the Dingles, you can forget about it. You are properly shunned, and I was. It was horrible.
Hang on a minute.
Guilty.
Guilty.
This is daft.
Guilty.
The Dingles' solidarity is a lesson to us all, because they have these huge rows and they hold the Dingle court and they banish somebody. Marlon will never be seen again within the Dingle family. And then the next minute, Marlon's in trouble and they all forgive and they all stand together.
We have done spin-offs where, you know, there are Dingles in Australia and there are Dingles in Venice, and, you know, my absolute ambition was to do something called The Dingles in Dingle, you know, but we never quite got there, you know. But you do have this feeling that this family is like worldwide.
I remember I went to Man United once to watch one of the games, and I was sat there, and it was absolutely surreal. There's David Beckham, there's, you know, Philip Neville, all kicking the ball, and behind me they're chanting, Dingle, Dingle, Dingle.
In the early 90s, Emmerdale was facing criticism from the London ITV companies that it wasn't catering for their viewers.
Hey, I think you're sloping off to. You're meant to be licking the stables into shape.
I am. Still got horses to exercise there.
The producers replied by bringing in the Windsors.
Get out of the way, Joe!
Hang on!
I think the Windsors were brought in to kind of bring the Southerners in. And we did with aplomb, I feel, in a nice yellow, was it Zephyr, Zodiac? I don't know, anyway, this very 60s car and very Essex people. In fact, Viv thought she was going to go to Devon, but didn't realise she'd gone to Yorkshire.
Beckingdale. What are we going to Beckingdale for? Good question, Kelly. Come on, Mr. Smarty Pants. Tell us.
Thames Television at the time obviously felt they should have their own sort of London soap, so they were doing nothing to promote us in the London area, and they were quite happy to see us, you know, taken off the air, and they could put their own soap on. So we thought, you know, to try and appeal to a southern audience, we would bring a southern family in.
Look, just think about it. You know, look the place over and think about it.
Does that go for us as well, then?
Yeah, of course it does.
Well, I've thought about it, and the answer's no.
I had this wonderful sort of vision of this Cockney family arriving with sort of, you know, pearly king and queen jackets and going into the pub and sort of, saying, hey, let's have a knees up on Saturday night.
A knees up? More like a punch up.
Oi, haven't you heard of the country code?
Yeah.
I'll have another. Shh. This is the countryside, not a London racetrack.
Is this some kind of new pub quiz or what?
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Well, you said it, mate.
Drive round the lanes carefully, and if you see someone on horseback, slow down.
Is this the way Peckindale greets all its visitors?
Only the ignorant ones.
One of the things the Windsors were, when they were brought onto screen, was Southern. I mean, very consciously, even the name, you know, suggested something near London.
No sooner had the Merry Windsors moved into Emmerdale than they were thrown into the thick of it. Their village post office was raided and Viv was taken hostage.
It's all right. Oh, Viv. Oh, Viv.
Really, Viv was the Windsors. Nobody else made much impression on me.
Husband Vic was to meet a sticky end in another post office raid in 1998, but Viv Windsor had certainly made her mark.
There was definitely a change of look, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago. Just before Vic copped it, I decided to go definitely more 60s, 70s with bigger hair, straighter hair, because it used to be kind of soft and big, and definite heels and definite short skirts.
She is Dallas and Dynasty rolled into one, but tired. She's lost the plot. She hasn't realised time has moved on. She's still in the Joan Collins shoulder pads, the old Joan Collins. It's glamour all the way with her, but over the top, overdone and overcooked and over everything.
How dare you! I like things to match. I mean, if I'm wearing gold, I'm wearing gold. Gold on the belt and gold everywhere else. I can't mix gold with silver.
Labour? Oh, why didn't you let me know?
Since Bob kind of joined the Windsors, married Viv, and they became the Hopes, I think the whole family's moved on again, which is nice because I think it shows the way that one family, the group of characters, can evolve.
Hello, run out of money. All systems go then.
He, on the other hand, Bob, what can I say? He's a slippery character.
When you play a character for a while and you're playing it a lot of the day and a lot of the week, you do get a bit of merging, and it worries you when you see aspects of Bob coming into your own life, and you start doing, anytime I start pointing with my fingers, I feel myself doing it. I feel, oh God, I'm turning into him.
Right, Bob, right. Don't panic. You've got to be a rock.
We still have Scott and Donna and Viv there from the old Windsors, and yet they're now something subtly different with a kind of stepdad, Bob, and his daughter Dawn involved. The family's kind of expanded and moved.
The Blackstock started from just one character, Bernice.
Have you ever worked in a country pub before?
This is my first. Actually, I'm quite looking forward to being away from all that hurly-burly.
Finding the right name for a family or a character can be notoriously difficult. Sometimes an entire story conference grinds to a halt while everybody argues about the name. What we tend to do is, if the writers come up with the perfect name straight away, Bernice Blackstock was the name that Matthew Westwood gave to that character immediately, and there was no question we went with it.
$1.99. Oh, and I'm looking for Mrs. Eggleton's.
Ah, yeah?
I'm the new barmaid. Temporary.
When Bernice arrived in Emmerdale, she was a breath of fresh air. I don't think they'd written a character for her to stay very long, but she was such a hit.
Alan said not to expect much, but then I like cheap and cheerful.
Is that a fact?
She sounds a bit of a dragon, actually. But I've yet to meet someone I can't get along with.
Really? Well, love, there's always a first time for everything. Good day to you.
What's the matter with her? Oh, she's not. Oh, no.
It was one of these people that you see on screen, and as a viewer, you know, she is brilliant. Bring her back, and of course they did.
Absolutely perfect timing.
Well, punctuality's the politeness of princes. One of my mottos, that.
Welcome to the Woolpack.
Thanks. Can't tell you how pleased I was when you called. There's something about this place.
Oh, yeah?
You can smell it.
The family weren't planned at all, as far as I know. I think because of the successful storyline with Bernice and finding out that the fiancé was gay and all this sort of thing, it just seemed the right time to bring in her mum.
Bernice?
I think the Blackstocks are interesting because they weren't a family. They arrived, well, as kind of two people in Diane Blackstock and her daughter Bernice. Bernice buying the pub and Diane selling her kind of business to come and help her daughter out. So it wasn't a kind of nuclear family, and they've expanded since then.
Your granddad spark out in the back room. The spirit was willing, but the flesh was weak. I won't be late.
Diane,
Oh, I can't stop now, Ashley. I've got a man to see about a dog.
Hello, Diane. Long time no see.
There were so many stories about Diane's past. She used to tell the outrageous stories of what she got up to and her kind of history in the clubs, that her ex-husband, Rodney, became a kind of big character off screen. And we thought, OK, well, maybe there's more to play with Rodney.
You're looking good.
She's sweeping out through the pub, and Rodney said, "Hello, Diane." and she was shocked, and they had a huge row, and they went, into the back room, and all hell was let loose. I want you out of this pub and out of my life. And let's face it, you haven't found that too much of a problem for the past 26 years.
So there's no chance of me bedding down for the night, then?
Then we got Rodney turning up. Oh, Rodney, a flutter. All those hearts of all of us who watched Patrick Moore in the 70s. We should see a lot more of him.
Well, the patter certainly hasn't changed.
Oh, come on, Di, give us a break. I'm just here to see my daughter, that's all.
Rodney's a bit... Rodney's not quite... When I say he's not quite straight, I don't mean he's leaning that way, but what he is, he's a little bit skew-whiff, and he doesn't quite see things the same as everybody else.
I don't want to cause any bother.
Then leave me alone.
Let's start with Rodney, shall we? Rodney, as we used to know him before he joined Emmerdale, was this very handsome, very dashing young man. Under this calm and cool exterior beats the heart of a woman, and Rodney is gorgeous. He really is lovely.
Rodney usually has a sort of a younger version or a younger girl, and he's very fond of bringing them into the pub so that Diane can see them. It's not an accident, that he sort of says, let's go down the pub for a drink. There was a lovely episode when Rodney was having the affair with Louise, and, beautiful Australian girl behind the bar. And yet, at the same time, Diane comes round to his house, and he ends up sleeping with Diane.
Flaming hell. Oh, Diane, what the hell did you do last night? Rodney, wake up. Rodney!
Nicola knows that I'm in bed with Diane.
Dad, it's me. I want to talk to you about last night.
Yeah, I'll be with you in a minute, sweetheart.
Get down.
What was that?
It's just Louise.
Louise is coming down the street and says to Nicola,
Morning. Is Dad in? Nicola. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go right in.
and she says, yeah, go on in, he's in his bedroom. And so Louise comes in and sees, finds me in bed virtually in bed with Diana. It's very funny.
Morning, morning, hope you do...
Oh, Louise.
Louise,
This is not what it looks like.
What the hell is it then?
I just popped in to thank Rodney for the meal last night.
Get out of that, Rodney. Explain that away.
I don't think there was any big reason why the women dominated the Blackstock family and there was just one man in Rodney. I suppose there is a tradition in soap generally, and it's certainly true of Emmerdale, that you find strong women at the heart of things.
I alternate between thinking, isn't Bernice lovely, and wanting to get my hands around her throat. And Nicola is, without redemption, awful.
Hello. Bernice. You must be Nicola.
Well, the initial relationship between Nicola and Bernice was quite good.
It's not me you love, so who do you love then?
The real feud only started from the affair, and once all that had been uncovered, then Nicola hated the ground Bernice walked on.
I don't believe it. Her? My sister? I'm so sorry, Nicola.
It was absolutely deliberate that Bernice and Nicola would fall out over Carlos. No question about that. You know, we wanted these two sisters to fall out big time over this guy.
You cow.
I would say that Nicola isn't a bitch. She's a cow. She's like a spoiled brat. Because obviously a bitch role is like the Kim Tate. They go out and murder their husbands and things like that. I don't think Nicola would ever be that malicious.
One of the things that happens in soap is you're always breaking families up. There's a lot of story material in divorces and breakups and kids leaving home and brothers and sisters falling out and all the rest of it. If you follow that process through over the years, you find that some of your kind of family units have disintegrated to the point where there's nothing left. So you're always having to renew family units. There's always a shortage of good, solid families within a programme like Emmerdale.
The increasing popularity of reality TV provided a novel way of introducing one new family. Emmerdale bosses were persuaded to take part in a new show, Soap Stars. The winner's prize, a role on the soap.
Just past the roadside.
Yeah, I know.
He's useless.
We were asked if we would go through that process of choosing from the public a soap family, and I was actually always up for it. I thought it was, and I assumed in the first instance they'd been to Coronation Street, and Coronation Street said, no, we're not interested. But in fact, I don't think that had happened, and I think they'd come to us first.
You don't have a clue, do you? No, shut up!
The result was the introduction of the Calder Westerns into the village.
What the hell were you playing at?
You could have killed us. Never mind you. What about Brad?
You were too close.
How did I know you were going to stop like that?
That was her fault.
What a dump.
The Soap Stars family was the most amazing thing because they were brought in from this talent search, and it was almost as if, you know, the producers didn't really want them there.
Who's going to pay for this?
Well, don't look at me.
Why don't you calm down and exchange names, addresses and insurance details?
They don't need to. They already know each other intimately.
Jess. I'm sorry?
We're together.
I think there was a very, very difficult task for everybody, actors, writers, producing that family, because of course, because of the casting process, we weren't going to know who was playing certain roles until we'd written the scripts, which did make things quite difficult.
In fact, I think it was only Nicola and Rodney who interacted with them the most.
And this is the living room.
It's like a shed.
We purposely kept them slightly separate from the main action to start with, and they're going to move into the holiday village, which in a way, I guess, was our mistake with them.
They stuck them in this kind of pine chalet. It looked like they did all their scenes sort of in a sauna.
I don't suppose you've got anywhere bigger.
I'm afraid not.
It's going to be a squash.
I had no idea there'd be so many of you.
They did all their scenes together as a family, and everyone knows, I think even, you know, to the most stupid person in the world knows that the worst thing you can ever do with a soap family is bring them in and just have them sitting arguing with each other, because people don't care.
I'd bet you a fiver that nobody can remember every single name.
God, if I remember. OK, Soap Stars, you had mum and son and daughter, and they were the younger two. And then you had, oh no, one was the older, the son was older and the daughter was younger.
And I just think it was a combination of acting and storylines and timing and hype. And it just didn't gel fast enough for the viewers to ever warm to them. So it seemed to blur, in my mind, that they'd arrived. They had a few storylines about, you know, the relationship, which was basically two families coming together. And then they'd gone.
Thanks for that, Maggie.
My pleasure. You're not the only one who can make someone's life uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah, true.
Slowly but surely, one went, the other went, the next one went, and suddenly, oh, they were all gone.
But knock me down and I'd get up again.
So the Soap Stars family left the village, settling a few scores as they went.
Well, you ain't ever gonna keep me down, Nicola.
During the past year, Emmerdale lost two of its high-profile characters, Chris Tate and Trisha Dingle. Producers decided to make up the numbers by introducing another new family.
For too long, the Tates have been the only power-mad, money-mad family in the village, apart from Eric Pollard, and, you know, he's just a joke. And now we've got the Kings.
With the demise of Chris Tate, they've still got Zoe as a kind of big power broker, some leading men to make things happen, to cause fights, break hearts, be very proactive.
There's an awful lot of them. There's only me up against about 6 of them, me and several children. So I'll train them into the Tate ways.
We never, ever have hard and fast rules. So we thought about the Tates and, the fact that Zoe has inherited this house and, is she strong enough? Can she actually? So we thought it would be quite interesting to sling her a few problems.
The youngest brother, Carl, is a skirt chaser.
He's a young Jack the Lad, very, very flirtatious, loves the ladies, loves money, loves flashy cars.
He's very like his dad. He's a tough, honest, straight arrow sort of a guy. Well, when I say honest. He's, as you say, all's fair in love and war, and in business he gets what he wants, I think.
You're King?
Jimmy King. He's the eldest brother, not the most intelligent of the brothers, but a real kind of grafter.
Jimmy is a sort of, he seems to be the thuggish element of the family, really. He sort of doesn't have much humour, is obviously having trouble with his missus. That's going to be quite interesting when that turns up.
Evening, ladies. What kept you?
Well, Matt is the real dark horse, and he's the one to watch, I think.
He's been to university, he's educated, he's bright, he knows what he's doing, basically.
Hiya, Dad. Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad.
The head of the dynasty being, what a fantastic casting, Corrie's Billy Walker.
What have I told you boys about starting without me?
Ken Farrington seemed just ideal for Tom King because he has presence, he has gravitas.
He likes law and order, he likes to feel that he's got his boys under control.
To new beginnings.
New beginnings.
He's a character of wisdom, and that's what I think Ken brings, is a sense of history and of quiet authority. We're trying to fit the Sopranos into a Yorkshire village.
Who was it?
What has been interesting about the Kings is we've virtually brought in the entire age range.
It was felt that the gap left by the departure of Kim Tate had never quite been filled in a similar way, and that she was such a big character and such an important player in the show that it was perhaps time to bring in somebody else who could fulfill that role.
We first started out really thinking that we were going to bring in all men, which would be different. We thought just men, brothers and a father. And then the more we thought about it, we thought maybe that's just going to be a bit too macho. What's bringing the kind of the sexual politics, the spark, the glamour to these men? So the character of Sadie King was kind of born out of that, thinking, we need to not soften these men, but give them a female kind of touch.
For a rehearsal, please, everyone.
Sadie is set to make her presence felt even before she arrives in the village.
Rehearsal and action.
Hello, King and Sons. Just a moment. I'm sorry, he's busy right now. Can I take a message? This is Charity Tate, Mr. King's secretary. Yeah, I am new. Well, I don't see how that's any of your business. OK, well, you tell me your age first. No, I didn't think so. Yeah, don't worry, I'll tell him you've called. Bye. Cheeky mare. What, do you know how old I was?
Who was it?
Some snotty cow called Sadie.
Word of advice. Don't get on the wrong side of my Sadie.
My brothers are very frightened of her, even though they try to pretend they're not. She's a very tough woman. She's very close to my dad. They're well knit. She's very much in the mould of my mother. She's a strong woman who doesn't suffer fools gladly.
We wanted a very tough, glamorous woman who could play in the company of men and yet almost be stronger than they were. A woman who would really kind of be lusted after by men and envied and hated by women, really, for having everything that they wanted. And I think Patsy Kensit was a rather good choice for that. I think she has all of that.
Patsy's first appearance on screen is the arrival of Sadie King into Emmerdale, descending on the village in true bitch style. So the Kings are finally together in Emmerdale, and they're sure to have an impact on life in the village. One thing for certain, they've not come just to worry the sheep.